Hello, it's May 2022, and this video is kind of a combination of my journey update finding home series and just my regular content video. So classify it as you will. And it is sunny, but as you can see by the temperature here, it is cold. Frosty cold, and that temperature is after having the engine running to keep warm. And it was a super cold night, not like winter time, but still it's chilly, and where I am, because of the humidity, it feels even colder. And I'm going to say again, I do miss having my camper conversion, being able to lay down and having the auxiliary heater going to keep warm. Running the engine is, especially with gas prices now, is insanity. And as I've mentioned briefly in my update videos, having to car camp, I guess you can say, within city limits and truck stops means that I drive around to different locations, as not to be in one location too long. Presents its own challenges, and again, I'm going to say that you work with what you have. This is what I have now, and this is where I am. Not being able to lay down, as I mentioned in the previous journey update video, swelling in my feet, which started after the May 4th, 2013 event. See that video for more details, but this video is partly inspired by something that I've talked about over the many years and showed a plethora of independent evidence. And I can't remember when the last time I did a video about this particular topic, so I thought maybe I'll just kind of briefly go over it all again. As I said, there's plenty of other videos about this, so feel free to go back through all my videos. People have been asking about my health issues and my injuries, what's going on. I just want to back up a little bit to around 2010. I had, well, prior to that, for, I would guess, several years prior, started having some heart issues. Now I was working, I'm a workaholic by nature, basically 24/7, bringing files home, working on files, and dealing with law, especially what I ended up specializing in. It's very stressful. You may not realize that it's stressful, but I guess there's some stress there. And I spent the night at the hospital a couple of times, 2-3 times anyway, because they were concerned I was having some serious heart issues. So they ended up finally, the last time I was in the hospital, taking it really serious, and they did images of the heart. Said it was, bigger than normal, being athletic, and it was, at the time, 2010, was strong. And I remember the doctor saying, 10 years from now, I don't know, because as we age, we become physically weaker. I don't know if you're able to recover. And so they started taking images. And the one image they took, the first one, the whatever arteries, whatever was, they were constricted. About a week or two later, they did another set of images, and it was completely dilated, and they never seen anything like that. Now, apparently, inside of my heart and everything else, it's clean. There's no obstructions or buildup of anything. But they were really perplexed, to the point where I ended up seeing an international heart specialist about it. And I did what was called a nuclear stress test. The doctor had walked out thinking that the nurse would stay behind. The nurse walked out, I guess, thinking the doctor's coming right back. Long story short is, I'm on this treadmill, and I was like 30 seconds away from completing the advanced athletic level, because it just kept progressing. No one was there to stop it. And They both came in at the same time. The doctor's freaking out. You should have been stopped a long time ago. And I remember asking him, let me just finish. I'm almost finished. To me, it was a challenge. And I just kept going. And they, I guess, put the machine down to slow down so I can cool down. And it was at that point when I literally collapsed. He put me on oxygen, and oh yeah, it was a fiasco. But the point is, I kept going, and he was surprised that I kept going. It was almost like my brain was just on autopilot, just to push through. And when we look at nature, for example, some animals, when they're injured or sick, they appear to be okay. It's like a defense mechanism in nature, so they're not drawing attention for predators to come and take them out, or other predator, if they're a predator, to maintain their status, whatever. But so I have that heart issue that was diagnosed in 2010, and then around that time, I had they were checking my knees and my hips, and I had at the time advanced arthritis in my knees and my hips. I can't remember what was the issue there. And there were some back issues, but I can't remember all the details about that. And it was also around that time when they, I guess I was diagnosed with stage 2 of a lung condition, which is something that had progressed all my life. I've always had lung issues and them not clearing out properly and stuff. I'm just going to interject here. I do recall when I was younger, talking about lungs and everything, I've had double bronchitis, double pneumonia, and I had scarlet fever once or twice when I was a child. So anyway, moving forward, so that was stage 2 of that, arthritis and so forth. Let's fast forward now to the May 4th, 2013 event, the injuries I sustained. I've shown a lot of medical records about that, with head, neck, spine injuries, and obviously my hands and wrists. And they did what's called a nerve conductivity test on my hands and wrists, comparing my right hand to my left hand and wrist, which are damaged as well. I've lost more than 60% of nerve conductivity, and I guess the arteries and everything were all severed. And that's compared to another injured. What else are you gonna use as a baseline? So I have those injuries. I did say head, neck. There was ankle. There's some other injuries that when I was rushed to the hospital, or went to the hospital with all that. So I have all those injuries that are not getting better. They're getting worse. And apparently, as I understand, I'm going to eventually lose complete use of my right hand, my right wrist. And they have been shrinking ever since. And I've done some videos and talked about that. It's hard to talk about. But anyway, and then I'm just going to fast forward to 2016, where over the years, apparently I had some microstrokes, which impacted the left shoulder and neck. And sometimes you might even notice in videos I have difficulty talking, a lot of retakes for different reasons, but that's one of them. And I guess the doctors were saying that it was a lot of stress related with these microstrokes, or whatever they're called. And then in 2016, that's when I learned that I'm supposed to be on an oxygen tank, because the lung condition apparently got worse. And there is no sign of in my lungs. And I know there's going to be people who are not going to accept this, but I don't really care. A video about 10 years ago, I actually addressed the topic. I do smoke, and there's no signs of any scar tissuing or any damage from cigarettes. And whatever. So it's whatever it is, it's a continuation of a lifelong thing. And quickly to fast forward to the fall of 2000, and I was rushed to the hospital with a new medical condition that they want to do this emergency life-saving surgery on, which I refused. I did a video about that specifically. And it was actually at that time, because I was refusing, the one doctor, they had all these surgeons and stuff all freaking out because I was refusing it. They said, you know, if I don't, it's likely to be lethal, but whatever. That's when one of the doctors told me, thinking I was concerned about what I now call old current worldwide events. And they said, yeah, there's nothing to it. It's all nonsense. It's not real. So don't worry about that. And already they didn't know that they were preaching to the choir about not to worry about it because it's nothing, but I digress. So I have that new medical condition. So between my knees, my ankle, my hips, the injuries, back, neck, head injuries, constant headaches that have been progressing over the years. Sometimes it's unbearable. Actually, a lot of times it's unbearable now, and they last a long time. My heart, the surgeon said in 2010 to get rid of the stress on my life, and for a decade now my life has been extreme stress. So yeah, I have all these medical things and injuries that I am contending with, and it's interesting because the injuries have played a really big role, and then I also am dealing with post-traumatic stress, and I've shown in some of my videos the effects of it, and having to deal with over the years the bombardment of trauma, dealing with the courts and having all this injustice imposed on me, and reading. There's one report that I remember where I was a probation officer for the wrongful convictions of allegedly assaulting a police officer and alleged obstruction, wrote that I am not taking any responsibility for the convictions. And this is the kind of watch me, I'm getting upset here, type of people. I'm being super polite because the words I want to say will get me censored, probably banned from any online platform. But these are the people who, it's almost like gaslighting. You try to explain to these people, listen, I'm innocent. The evidence given by the two former officers say that I'm innocent. I'm convicted because I was suing. They don't care. It's just, oh, you're not taking responsibility. Now, in part, I'm going to say that the system is geared with the assumption that people are guilty, legitimately, actually guilty. And if somebody's actually guilty and they're not taking responsibility, then yes, I can see that. But when you try to present, even with evidence, which I did with this person, they don't care. You're guilty. That's it. That's all people see is the official story. And we see this in society overall. What's the official story? People buy into it, and that's it. You can't tell people any different until an official tells you something different. And I find that the most frustrating part of everything that I've been dealing with, is the assumption that, yeah, that I'm actually guilty, and I'm not. And I've shown a plethora of evidence proving that I'm not. And all this began on or about June 2012 when I learned of the sexual abuse, sex trafficking of these vulnerable women within the mental health organization in the province of Alberta, who was sponsoring them 60%. And then everything just happened as it did. Anyway, I just wanted to address my medical stuff because I know people have been asking. And yeah, so anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, oh, when is it going to get easier? When you die.